Once upon a time, plastic was fantastic.
By a miracle of modern science,
A brand new world.
You won't believe this.
The possibilities of plastics are endless.
How?
Radio and the telephone depend on plastics.
Handbags, shopping bags,
Shiny plastic shoes, nylons are plastic too.
Say, this isn't like the stuff my wife uses. It's clear.
wherever you look, there is another use for plastic.
But something was wrong with this fairy tale.
Modern plastics remain in their original state almost indefinitely.
Forever and ever and ever.
There was no happily ever after.
Buy it, use it, throw the rest away.
There was only ever after.
Grandchildren will not see the end of it.
The problem is, we're now addicted to plastic.
Mass production, mass production, mass production. Plastic on an industrial scale.
We've now produced enough of the stuff to wrap the world thousands of times over.
They look good.
So it's time to write a new story.
Try something new.
We must eliminate unnecessary plastics and redesign products to reuse, repair, and repurpose. We must break the habit today if we want a future free of plastic pollution. Now, wouldn't that be fantastic?
Now, in our Point of View segment, we are diving into a crucial topic that affects us all, the battle against plastic pollution. Every year, millions of tons of plastic waste threaten our oceans, wildlife and health. But there's hope as people around the world work to combat this challenge. To discuss further, I'm now joining by Sheila Agrawal Khan, and she's the Director of UNEP's Industry and Economy Division. Hi Sheila, thanks for doing this. I understand you are in Nairobi, Kenya.
Yes, and I'm in Nairobi, but I must apologize. I've had to use my phone for this call. So
no worries at all.
To the discussion.
Yeah, no worries at all, Sheila. Let's start off with this. Could you describe the current global scale of plastic pollution?
So, as you know, there's exponential growth since plastic was produced. Currently, we see 430 million tons of plastics produced a year, of which 2/3 of it is short-lived plastics, used maybe once or maybe a few times, like in a cooking oil bottle, and then disposed of and becomes pollution. But plastic production is going to triple by the time we hit 2060. So you can imagine the scale of the problem when you look at the full life cycle of plastic and the challenge we will face from the level of pollution from this.
Sheila, given the staggering amount of plastic waste produced since the 1950s, could you then, how close are we to critical tipping point in terms of environmental impact, and what are the most pressing consequences that needs to be addressed immediately?
So when, the awareness of plastic pollution started coming, we were more concerned at that time by looking at the amount of litter that you see. We were seeing waterways, oceans, coastlines full of plastic pollution, turtles and other wildlife caught in plastic litter. But now we're seeing microplastics in human blood. And lots of data and research out there is showing more and more microplastics in our own system, let alone the chemicals that are used in plastics to give them the functionality, of which some of them are proving to be harmful. Of 13,000 chemicals that are used in plastics, something like 3,200 are identified as harmful. And some of those plastics are seeing exposure to the human system and to biodiversity worldwide.
We understand that plastic is embedded in every aspect of modern life, from what we wear, how we travel, and what we eat. Currently, Sheila, which industries are the biggest contributors to plastic pollution?
So, of course, the polymer producers are the ones producing the plastic in the first place. But then, of course, it's converted and turned into products by different brands. So the packaging industry produces, the most of the plastic packaging and, most of the plastic pollution that we see today. But textiles, half of the textiles we use are plastics, and most people don't even realize that. But we see fishing gear, agriculture plastics, we see tires, we see construction, the electronics industry, all using plastic, and some of that ending up as pollution.
Yeah, that's really, really harmful to the environment. Even the pen I'm holding right now is made of plastic. You're right. Everything that we use could contribute to this pollution. But in 2022, UN member states agreed on a resolution to create a legally binding agreement by 2024 to end plastic pollution. Could you elaborate on the main objectives of the upcoming global treaty to end plastic pollution? And how does it aim to address the entire life cycle of plastics?
So, yeah, as you said, in 2022, in March, 193 member states came together and agreed that a global treaty, a global binding treaty needed to be established. And since then, they have been negotiating amongst each other to look and see how do they address the full life cycle. So not just at the waste end, but right from the production end, from when plastics are produced, so to the products they're used in, all the way down to waste management and recycling. And we just finished a negotiation session in Ottawa about 10 days ago. And in Busan, in Korea, in November, we're supposed to see the last final round of negotiations when the treaty will have agreed on provisions that will address the entire life cycle, production to products, all the way down to waste management and recycling.
Now, could you walk us through what are some of the key initiatives and strategies that the UNEP is implementing to combat plastic pollution worldwide, Sheila?
Yeah, so one of the things that the UN has done is to identify that the numbers of chemicals that are used in plastics and the kind of alternatives that could be put in place where we have harmful chemicals and problematic polymers. We're working with governments to try to stop single-use plastics and other short-lived plastics, especially where there are feasible and affordable alternatives. We're helping countries to put in place the policies and legislation to go to reuse and refill systems. And then, of course, helping them with setting up producer responsibility policies like extended producer responsibility, where the different producers of plastic products pay into a system that then helps to pay for waste management, recycling, and other reuse and refill systems that would help to curb the amount of plastic pollution there is.
Sheila, in Malaysia, we do have campaigns like Reduce, Reuse and Recycle just to get the ball rolling, especially for environmental conservation. But looking ahead, what are the most critical actions that need to be taken to substantially reduce plastic pollution by 2030?
So, of course, right at the start of the value chain is the amount of plastic produced. And there have been a lot of discussions among member states about what do you do with the volume of plastic that is produced, and can you reduce it? Also, can you reduce the amount of single-use and short-lived plastics? Because these are unnecessary plastics that end up very fast in the plastic waste, let's say, stream. The second is to look at alternatives to problematic plastics. Where do we have feasible alternative materials, either plastic or non-plastic, that could be put in place? And of course, that would create new job opportunities. Then is, of course, reuse systems, because, today in your supermarket, you will go in and take a product that has got plastic packaging and then dump the packaging, and it straight away becomes litter. So how can you go to reuse systems where you can reuse, refill systems, where you can take back things like your phone and your laptop and get it fixed without having it to become one day, waste, which is full of plastic. And then, of course, there's the whole space of waste management and recycling, and how does that get invested in again? So in all of these, a space where we need to look at the waste pickers and how they become part of the new system. Number two is to look at the other jobs that can be created. And three, looking at the investment opportunities that will come from a very different way of an economy that relies so much on plastics today.
Well, thank you, Sheila, for your insights. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have on this segment. And all the best to you in Nairobi, Kenya. We'll speak to you again. That was Sheila Agrawal Khan from United Nations Environment Programme. As we learned, the fight against plastic pollution is crucial for safeguarding an environment and future generations. Let's continue to raise awareness, reduce our plastic use, and support initiatives aimed at cleaning up our planet.